Hi, this is Paul with To Live For, and today I have with me Regina Strongheart, who is what's the proper word here for Forest Circles? I mean, you're the owner, but you're also what's the word I'm looking for?
What's the word you always use?
Yeah, what is it? Not the caretaker,
I don't know.
I'll come back to that. So I've known Regina, I think, around 10 years. And I think I met you I came to a workshop here.
Okay.
And it was, I think my first workshop here was with Oscar.
Okay.
But so Regina has this amazing place that is a home, but it's also a place of refuge, a place of healing, a place of wisdom. And it's full of nature. How many acres?
24.
24 acres. And out there on the 24 acres are all these spirit animals, these trails. There's a fire pit that circles are held around. Can you describe a little bit more about Forest Circles and what it means to you?
Well, to make a long story short, back in the year 2000, I was visited and told that there was a magical piece of land waiting to be rediscovered. And I was told to start looking in 3 years' time. And so in 2003, I started to look, what I call heart navigate, and stepped onto the head of my driveway, which was an old logging road, and I knew immediately that this was the land, and it was just amazing feeling of knowing. And so everything came together in a way that was really almost unpredictable, and built my home, and started the practice. Forest Circles, which is the name of the property, and I'm a steward of the land.
Exactly.
That's the word.
That's the word.
And started putting on workshops, hosting workshops, teaching classes on healing, discovering your healing gifts. And one of the most exciting things is to assist people in finding their way back to their bodies, back to their spiritual heart. And a lot of that has happened through people coming out and doing solo retreats out into the forest. With some folks, I help them design it and help them to decipher what's happened. There are so many spirits out here. Some of them are quite astounding. And they're here to teach people and to lead people, so that they can discover more about who they are and what they're capable of, and how truly loved they are by Earth and all these forms. So that's the essence of Forest Circles.
Yes, and thank you for sharing. It's a beautiful story. And you've said a couple things at the very beginning that I want to kind of go back to. So you said the year 2000, you were given a message to look in 3 years for the land. What was your place in the world in the year 2000? So that's 15, 16 years ago. What were you up to prior to that? Because I think there was a shift for you.
I was... in training, I guess you could call it. I didn't take any classes to learn about my healing gifts. I explored the continent, listened to my heart, had little rituals that I would initiate, and Spirit would talk to me and lead me on these adventures. I had groups of people, small groups of friends that were on a similar path, and we would meditate together, and things would come up, and I was the one that would be catapulted or would jump into these visions that we would have, and then end up doing things like in 90, I think it was in 95, went out to the Black Hills of South Dakota for 3.5 weeks with my dog and my tent. And I didn't have any goal other than to visit Wounded Knee, but magical things happened. And I would just wait for a little nudge to be directed, and it was amazing. So those were the kinds of things that I did, both on a large scale, but also on a small scale, on a day-to-day basis, is just wait for that nudge.
So
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. And you called it maybe daily rituals is the word you use, but or daily practices. Is that something you've always done your entire life, or was there? Because one of the things I know about you is that you were a teacher, and was there a time in your life where you made this shift to doing the meditation and getting into some of those daily practices? And if there was a shift, what do you think created that shift for you?
Well, as a child, I always went back to nature by myself. Always went down to the stream, down into the forest, would lie down on a bed of pine needles and look up through the pine trees. Walking at night when I was probably about 10 or 11 years old. I can remember this vividly, walking in the middle of the hayfield with 2-foot high snow. Snow was about 2 feet deep, and it was a cold winter's night, and the sky was clear. And I just have a vivid memory of walking across that field by myself towards home. And so for me, that's the meditation, to put yourself into a place. It's not necessarily a ritual, other than it was a ritual for me to find myself in nature and put myself in nature and wonder. And so back in 86, what happened was my marriage was starting to fall apart, and my ex and I went to counseling for 3 years. And during that time, I found a group of women that were meditating, and that's really what catapulted me, because I didn't have any sense that this is where I wanted to go. And magical things started to happen, and I started to read. I read a lot. Books were my teachers as far as a better understanding of, the New Age teachings and all. And just I kept going back to nature without deciding to. It's just a ritual for me.
Right, just happened.
Yeah.
Do you think, as a child, you would lay down on that bed of needles and look up at the sky, and, you connected with nature a lot? One of the things I'm learning in these interviews is that we actually have these passions as children and these gifts, but somewhere, somehow, at least in our culture, we tend to walk away from those, or I'm not sure if walking away is the right word, but we kind of get caught up in the daily chores of life. Did you experience that, or did you stay with nature throughout your whole journey as you finished school and got married and all that?
Stayed with it. Totally.
That's cool.
Totally. My former husband and I decided when we got married in 76 that we wanted to, raise the children in a very rural environment. And so we found this land. We had to snowshoe into it in the middle of the winter, and Jake, my son, was a year old, and the girls were 8, 9 or something. And it was way the hell out. The closest house was more than 1.5 miles away. And we bought 51 acres for $15,000 and built an earth-burn passive solar home. Had some goats, and we were out there. I was out there for 14 years.
So to me, that inspires me, because what I see in that story, or what I hear or feel in that story, is someone that was willing to take the path less traveled and dare to parent differently and live differently than perhaps many people that surrounded you. Agree, disagree?
Well, I don't know if I'd use the word dare. It's just something we had to do. We couldn't live any differently. We were. It wasn't. It was an adventure, but I couldn't see us doing it another way. I mean, it brought us joy. It was a challenge. It gave so much back, and living out in the forest. I after our marriage fell apart and I was there with 3 children in this huge house, and I would go out into the woods with an international scout and harvest all the firewood for the year. And it's just something that I love doing. And I look back on it now and I'm like, wow, that took a lot of energy. And if I stopped for a moment and really intellectualized it, I probably would have been really stressed out. But I got a lot out of it, and it was something that I couldn't do. I couldn't do differently. Nowadays, it's sad to see how we've plugged children into this altered reality, via the media, and it's a little frightening.
So you've used 2 terms that I think are very much linked, or not linked in your case. You did, when you and your husband made that choice and you lived in that way, you didn't intellectualize it. And in the year 2000, you said that you were using heart navigation. So to me, I feel like you've always lived from your heart. Your heart is what's led your navigation.
I think so.
That's rare in today's culture. How did you learn that? How did that become part of your fabric?
It was part of my fabric. Coming in, it was part of my fabric.
How did you not let the intellectual overcome the heart?
Back in 1969, when I found myself pregnant, going to college, no unwed mother that I knew of kept their babies at that time. I ended up having twins. How did that happen? Well, God showed up one evening, because I'd been praying about making the right decision. And it was like I was infused with the message, keep the babies. You are, and there were a lot of miracles that happened around that time. So it was, things like that happened frequently for me. And so I think I came in with that kind of, that's the way I navigated. I had a strong connection with God, and it wavered over the years. But when it came to important decisions like that, I asked for divine guidance, and it came in big time. So it was always there, but I didn't recognize it as being heart-based until I did some emotional healing, later on in my life, and uncovered what I had protected, because I had protected a lot of it. We all have hurts in our life, so we protect ourselves.
Right.
So it was always there. It's not something. It's something that I encourage to grow, but it was always there.
Do you think heart navigation is there for all of us?
Yeah.
So one of the missions of To Live For is to help people learn to be navigated, allowed to be navigated by their heart. And I'm just wondering if you might have some wisdom with our audience that you want to share with our audience in terms of how to allow that to happen.
It's like undressing and standing bare naked, I think, in front of a mirror and exposing yourself to you, daring to expose yourself to the real you, to all parts of you, and then getting to a point where you go, well, there I am. Here I am.
That feels, it's very, this is very emotional for me. And that is about, what you just described, it's about being vulnerable to ourselves.
I think the answers are in the physical form. This holds the memory of it. This holds our vibration. And it's really easy to downgrade the importance of your body. And I see that time and time again working with people, how a lot of people just don't have that appreciation for what the body is for us and what it's holding for us. Yeah, it is about becoming vulnerable because that's what people see. They see that physical form first. Most people do anyways.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you bare yourself to you? Don't worry about what other people think. Can you really look at all the little crevices and interesting landscape that you have and love it? And then really inhabit the whole of your body. I use the expression when I teach my classes, become fully engaged in your body. Be fully, and sometimes I'll get a little jumpy as I think things are shifting for me, but fully present in all parts of you and appreciating all parts of you. Then the real heart navigating can happen. And it happens automatically. It's not something you make happen. It's something it's like, here's my heart. And it just begins to, I guess, start firing. And I'm sure it works differently with everyone, but it's like, and then your attention, your feeling attention is here. And you're just sort of waiting. It's almost like listening, but it's also feeling. And you get this, for me anyways, you get this little turn left, turn right. There it is.
It's a beautiful story. And I appreciate that you shared from your heart for the last 15 minutes. And just speaking for me personally, as a friend, you have been a wonderful friend, a mentor. I was thinking on the way over, one of my terms is spirit colleague.
That's a good one.
There's a group. Maine is a wellspring. There's so much emerging in terms of work around spirituality, and you're one of the leaders. You're one of the mentors, and you have a lot of wisdom. And the To Live For audience and Donna Maria and I are grateful for your time and for your wisdom. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.